Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of Out of Scope. I'm Cristiano, and today the entire episode is going to be with BradmanTV. Hey Brad.
Hey, what's up?
How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome. And he's going to give me his marketing tip of the day, probably about Periscope. All you marketers out there need to listen to this.
Sports marketing expert Brian Cristiano.
Brian Cristiano.
Marketers and advertisers and brands always have to keep in mind, you have to play to the state of your audience. Endurance sports athletes are absolutely fanatics.
Having a Facebook page doesn't get you any business, but doing it right can be quite effective.
Well, I'm sitting here with BradmanTV. We're both periscoping this live. If anybody doesn't know, we'll make sure we put it up on the actual show. It's BradmanTV is both his Twitter and Periscope handle. That's correct?
That's correct.
All right, awesome. So we got introduced in a very interesting way.
Yes.
I did an episode a few episodes ago last week because I started paying attention, watching your channel on Periscope. I saw John Legere's channel on Periscope, and I saw you guys were talking. Somebody at T-Mobile convinced you to switch over because obviously you use your cell phone very often. And he created a relationship with you, ended up getting you a new phone, and now you guys are kind of buddies. And I was speculating on, was it totally organic or was it a marketing thing? And both of you said that it wasn't marketing, it was organic. So tell me about this.
Okay, so the situation was, I was on Verizon. I was like, I'm going to be on Verizon forever, whatever. It's got good coverage. I'm afraid of T-Mobile because of the coverage. I was like, I hear these rumors that they mess around with your data once you get to a certain point. And I'm going through, I broadcast my live. So I'm scoping pretty much all the time. I'm going through 50 gigabytes of data a month.
Wow.
Which then in Verizon terms equals like $500 a month.
Wow.
So, I was like, well, one of my other scoper friends, Alex Butler TV, started talking about T-Mobile to me too. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go over and check it out. And it was just gonna be because I'd said numerous times, I'm not going to T-Mobile. So I broadcast and I'm like, I'm outside of T-Mobile because there's one in my neighborhood and I'm gonna go in and see if they can convince me. And then the girl convinces me. Wow. It's a mixture of the girl convinces me and I was tweeting about it and somebody from their Twitter team emailed me an affirmation letter saying, hey, we guarantee you that we will not throttle your internet. And I said, it doesn't bother me. It's just that if you do, everybody who's watching will get mad. So I'm like, go ahead. I trust you. We're good to go. It's not a contract, whatever. We'll try it out. And so I sign up. And she was her name's Drea, the girl that helped me out, and she's just awesome. And so afterwards, I was just like, hey, John, I tweeted out to him and I said, hey, I switched over to T-Mobile, and I would love it if you went to this store in Harlem and shook the girl's hand. And that started the conversation between us, and he's like, okay, let's set up a time, we'll do it.
Wow.
So that was that. And then just randomly that night, I was at karaoke, and so John must have followed me or something like that, so he saw my feed, he started to see where I was broadcasting, and he came in and said, I'll pay you this much money. I'll give you this much money if you sing me a song. And I'm like, and I didn't see that one.
Right.
So I was just singing or whatever. And somebody goes, well, he just gave you money. So then he was over there and he goes, I'll give you $500 if you sing a love song. And I was like, that's okay. I should sing a love song anyways. That'd be good. So I sang that. And I'm like, whatever. This guy's pulling my leg.
Right.
So he shows up in Harlem, but the girl's not working. But he's like, I got something for you anyway. And he basically hands me an envelope in the middle of Harlem with a bunch of money in it. And I'm just like, are you trying to get me killed? What is going on? I'm so confused right now on this. And he said he'll give me and then he made a comment like, give me a phone because of the data. Because when you stream all the time, it does eat up your storage space. It does it because it does some weird holding on Periscope does. So yeah, just I was like, whoa, that's great. He hasn't got it yet. So I mean, at some point, I'll believe it when I see it. But I do believe him because he's been very trustworthy. And then he also went on Andy Dick's show and gave a girl, Hunter Mann is her name, and he gave her $50,000 because she needed to have a surgery and she had to travel overseas to get it because it was a stem cell thing they couldn't do in the United States. So I don't know, blew my mind. I'd like to see other CEOs out there doing stuff. That's what I'm saying. I'd like to see that. So
well, that's what really intrigued me about the story, because it's so rare that especially people in his position, high-powered CEOs, that A, give a crap, and B, actually take real action where they show up and meet people that they don't know.
Right.
And usually when it happens, that kind of stuff, it's this pre-planned marketing thing, and which is great in its own right, but it's even better that this turned out to be a really organic, actual moment. And what's interesting to me is, and maybe you have a perspective on it, but I want to talk to John about it as well, is, he clearly sees a value in talking to people, real people, in very small communities where you have an audience, but it's a very tight-knit audience. He's not talking to millions of people. He's talking to you and your little audience, and he sees a value in just being kind and putting something out there. And I find that very interesting from a business perspective.
Right. I mean, the other thing I want to say about Periscope is it's not what is organic, but the thing I want to say is that on Periscope, like when I first saw John in Periscope, I was like, that's not really John Legere, whatever. And I kind of insulted him a little bit,
Right.
But I think it's with a lot of these celebrities, or these people that are higher up on the ranks outside of Periscope, there's an equal playing ground in Periscope. There was one of my viewers, Lisa Appleton, was in London, and Sarah Haynes from Good Morning America was in London on baby watch for the new baby that came. And she went over and took her dogs over to meet Sarah Haynes, because Sarah had seen her dogs on Periscope. And when she was over there, she mentioned me, and Sarah's like, oh yeah, I watch Brad once in a while, and this and that. And then Lisa's like, well, he has a dog too, and he's moving to New York. And she's like, well, we should meet up and we can do a dog date a puppy date with the dogs, play date with the dogs. And just stuff like that. Eric Appel, who's a director, has worked with Funny or Die, has done The Office, things like that. I was asking him if he'd be interested in working with me on a web series, and he said, yeah, let's do something in 2016. That's awesome. So it's interesting the different people that you meet. Well, Andy Dick. Right. Andy Dick did a Sleepcast, and he said, can I do a Sleepcast? Is that allowed? Because that's kind of your thing, Bradman. I was like, Andy Dick's asking me to do a bit. I'm like, okay, go ahead. That's great,
That's awesome. Yeah.
And so I mean, it's just interesting to see the how there's no oh, I'm better than you, or I'm bigger than you. And I want to say that doesn't happen all the time. There is the occasion where somebody's like, I'm the best in the world and everybody loves me and I'm going to come in and be the king of Periscope or something like that. I don't know what stuff like that. But there is this thing where everybody just needs there is a good group of people who get it and realize that Periscope's like a family and everybody helps each other.
You think it humanizes people and evens out the playing field from a communication?
I think so, because I think the deal is, and I've said this before, I think with YouTubers, and you have those life bloggers on YouTube, they're life bloggers, but they can still edit. They can determine what you see and what you don't see. But when we're live on Periscope, we don't get that option. There's been times when I've been having a really good conversation, and then I brought up my grandmother or something, and then started to cry and be like, oh, I'm crying, and I'm like, whatever. And then I've had to turn off the camera, but they saw it happen. They know that happened. So when I come back, it's automatically like, well, are you okay? This and that, talking to me about everything else. So it's just, it's organic. Yeah. Once again, this keeps going back to the word organic.
It's real. Yeah, it's very real. Well, that's some of the things that I found very interesting, and what kind of attracted me to start following your Periscope and watching you and trying to figure it out is, well, one, I saw that you were one of the first real early adopters, and you seem to be doing it very well, and you've created an audience or brought an audience with you that are very passionate and follow you pretty much through the entire day when you're on it. And the other thing that I noticed is it almost seems to build a community within itself, because I tuned in this last weekend when you were doing Sleepcasts, because I was just curious. I'm like, okay, does anybody actually watch this guy sleeping? Like, what the hell's the deal? And I tuned in, and you were sound asleep. I think you were snoring a little.
I understand. I was probably snoring a lot. So
Maybe. But what was interesting is there was 50 or 60 people in there, and they were all kind of catching up with each other. Hey, what happened last night? I wasn't able to tune in. What was going on? What happened with Brad and John Legere? And what was this? And people were like communicating almost as if it was a chat room, filling each other in on your life.
Yeah.
And that was interesting to me.
Right.
What do you see with that?
I watched a sleep, like, the nice thing about Sleepcast is when I do sleep, I haven't done them in a while because I said I was thinking about weeding them out.
Right.
A girl approached me and asked me about, well, how does this affect your personal life at night? And I was like, oh, I've never really just even considered that part of it. And so when that girl asked me that, I was like, well, maybe I should consider like not doing Sleepcasts or weeding it out weaning people so that I don't do it every day, but I'll do it once in a while and it'll be a special thing.
Right.
And well, the thing is, since it's so long, it doesn't save to Periscope because after you hit a certain point, you can't rewatch it.
Right.
Or it takes forever and it's never going to upload. So one day I did a really short Sleepcast and I was able to watch it. And I was able to read the comments. And I was just like, I never want to read the comments again. Because it was just, and it wasn't the good people, it was the bad people.
Okay.
And it was funny, and it was funny then like the negative comments would come and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my God, people just, because they know that I'm not going to be able to retaliate or something like that. So I was just like, whatever, like when a bug bites you in your sleep. It knows,
Brush it off?
Yeah, brush it off, whatever. I wake up with a bug bite, but whatever. I don't have the experience of getting bit.
Right.
But I don't know, it's just something where they can have that little thing. But then I also started thinking, boy, people are on here a lot. Yeah. And so maybe it would be nice to give them, I don't want to like turn people into zombies either. So I want to be like, I'm not gonna do Sleepcast tonight, and you guys can. And people were getting upset with me, but I know one girl was like on a boat, like on a cruise or something like that, or just something. I was like, you're on a boat on a cruise right now. Why are you watching me on Periscope? That doesn't make any sense. So, sorry, I just pounded the mic.
That's all right.
Pound.
Keep that in. Keep that in.
Sorry about that. Boom. I'm like, oh, what's that? What are my glasses?
Josh is taking his headphones up now.
I apologize.
Well, that leads me to my next question, which is, why do you think people watch you? Why do people follow you on Periscope?
I don't know. And like people will come into the room all the time, and the question's like, why are you famous? And I'm like, I'm not famous. And like people are like, why are you so popular? I'm like, I'm not popular. I'm just like, I don't understand. I think I'll turn into an a-hole if the day I say I'm famous, and that's why I don't want it to happen. So, I don't really see that as like, I'm just a guy living his life, and I think people want to. They have the same experiences as me. They have the same bad days. They have the same good days. If they can see me have a good day, then maybe it makes their day a little bit better. Or if they see me having a bad day, they can come in and like say a few good words and help me out, and then it makes them, it makes them feel better too because they've helped somebody out. It's sort of like you've got to pay it forward in your pocket, where you can just like at any time you can pull it out, and you can make me feel better, and then it will make yourself feel better.
Right.
So, or if you, and I've had people say I was having a really rough week or two because I just gotten out of the hospital. I was laying in a bed, and I was bedridden, and I watched you, and you inspire me, and I don't know.
Wow. Is that touching?
It is. It's very touching. It's very, I don't know how to describe it. It's just
raw emotion.
Yeah, right. And I'm just like, wow, I've never, because I came from like a community where, when you're from a really small town and you grew up and you weren't really a popular person in your town, or you weren't really a bigger name in your town, then they don't accept you. Like, I'd been to New York before, and I'd been working on television and things like that. And when I came back, everybody's like, he made that up. He wasn't really in New York. I'm like, I really was. I was gone. And so it was weird because you didn't really have the support. I mean, I had support from my family, but like outside of that, I didn't really have support. And so now I have this community who does support me. And I'm back in New York, and New York supports me. And it's very overwhelming for me because now I think I thrive here, and I think people saw that because I came back to visit New York City, and people saw how much I thrived, and I love it here, and they're like, you have to move back. because I was in Minneapolis at the time. I was loving Minneapolis, but they're like, you're so much different when you're in New York City.
Really?
It's like a whole different energy. So I moved back, and it was really because viewers convinced me it was a good idea.
What do you get out of Periscope for you? What does Brad get? Whether it be personal, whether it be business, what do you get out of this, and what keeps you doing it?
I don't know. I really there isn't like some interest in me, I guess. I guess like I said, I was gonna put out. I had a book. Boy, the working title is "All My Friends on YouTube Wrote Books, So Here's Mine." You know,
okay.
It's something to that extent because I don't have I always have to have it right in front of me to be like, here's the actual title I came up with, but. I was going to put it out for my birthday because my birthday's in September. And I was talking about it on the Periscope, and somebody's like, you should put that out now. And I was like, oh, what? Really? And like, I'd buy that book. And I'm just thinking to myself, I was going to put it out as a joke. I didn't think anybody would really buy the book. And now all of a sudden people are like, yeah, I want to buy that book. I want to buy that book. So I set up a pre-sale website for it and everything. And I'm like, this is great. And I tell stories, and people like, these are really good stories. And I tell my thoughts and my opinions, and people listen to my thoughts and my opinions, and they have their opinions too. And people come to me, and like I got an email the other day saying, I'm going to start doing Periscope, and I just want your advice on how should I do my content. I'm like, wow, you know, I feel like, and I think this is the nice thing because I did cheat because I was on Justin TV. I started I've been live streaming for a long, long time.
Right. And
so I think that's why I was able to adapt to this so quickly because I knew what worked and what didn't work. Like, don't show your address. Don't give out too much personal information. Be safe here. Be safe there. Because that's the stuff that ends up getting you 50 pizzas ordered to your house, and or a SWAT team called on you, or all this other stuff. And I mean, and it's sad that people do that, but it's just weird at the same time. But I'd gotten involved, and I had done everything, and so I kind of knew what was going on. And so it was just weird that, you know, I think I saw the bad things that happened with Justin TV, and I saw how Ustream kind of went one direction, and I saw how Blog TV fell apart, and how there was even one called Yahoo Live. I bet you don't remember that. That was like up for like very, very short-lived. Yeah. And I was like, I see where these failed, and I see where Periscope won't fail. And sometimes people go, you're really bossy with people on, like, because there's the heart thing, and I say, you don't bank for hearts because it's not really real content. The content's, people want to see content, they don't want to see you just saying, I want to be number one on the board or whatever. And people are like, mind your own business, do your own thing. And I'm just like, okay, that's fine, but I want to help. I want Periscope to work, you know? Right. I see the CEOs and everybody talking about it all the time, and they mention me once in a while, and so I want to be like, hey, you know what? I respect what they're doing, and I want to help them grow, because if they have the time to drop my name on something, I feel like they must think I'm doing something right, so I want to make sure that they know they're doing something right. And they've come into the room and they've asked me, like, what do you recommend for everything? Because how, you know, what's going to make Periscope better for a better experience for everybody? You know, like blocking trolls and moderators and things like that. I don't think we should have landscape. I'm a firm believer in that landscape makes us look like every other platform. Right. It just turns us into a mobile YouTube. So, you know, I think it just, you know, and there is landscape, because I could turn my phone right now. Right. So somebody said, show me landscape. I wish there was landscape, because I was doing an interview yesterday, and I was like, okay, and I just turned the phone, and they laughed, but it's true. If everybody turns their phone, they can watch it in landscape too. They can't comment, but yeah. So interesting. Right. So I mean, it's a lot of things like that, and I just think that Periscope is a really great experience. I've met a lot of amazing people through it. I plan to meet a lot of more amazing people. I'm pretty sure by the time this comes out, my prediction is, before this video comes out, that Android will be released. You think so? I think so. That fast? If I'm wrong, then everybody can post in the comments, Brad was wrong. But I thought it was coming out last week. Really? I thought it was coming out last weekend. You think it's that close then? I think it's that close. Wow.
I think that's going to be a game changer because of the
It is.
both platforms. It's going to be.
It is. It's like, man, now everybody's gonna hate me because I'm gonna say this. I don't watch any Game of Thrones. That's it. I don't watch any of those shows, right? But like on Game of Thrones, for like the dragons are coming. It's like this sort of thing. Like the droids are coming, and you see it in the chat rooms all the time. Like people saying, "We've got such a great community," and then droids gonna come in, and it's gonna be all these new people asking questions, and everybody. I don't know why they feel like Android users will limit like iPhone bettors aren't as trolly as Android users, but
I don't know.
I guess they just picture a bunch of high school kids with Androids.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's
So-
a big untapped community.
Right.
What can people learn from you, or what can you share with people from a Periscope perspective of, it's so new, people are still trying to figure this out, they don't understand it. You've definitely figured it out probably better than most people. What's a couple tidbits that you can get that you've learned from that other people, whether it be just people like yourself that are putting themselves out there, and or people like John Legere or other business folks that can use it to their advantage and not be commercial about it?
Okay.
What's the things to know?
Don't try so hard. I think the number one rule is don't try so hard. Just let it go. Let it go. You know? But I mean, it's that whole. I think, I don't know. A long time ago, when I was doing my public access show, every time season 3, I got a director because I'd have just somebody from the public access crew working, and they finally said, we can't do this anymore. We need you to have a director come in. So I had this director come in, and every week he would pull out a piece of paper and say, this is the format for the show this week. And I'd just be like, rip. Because I'd just be like, we're just going to sit here. I'm going to sip some beer. We're going to sit behind the desk. I know at some point I'm going to send it over to the band because we're going to have a band on this week, or we're going to have a guest on.
Right.
And I'm just going to take live phone calls. And we're just going to let it go. And whatever direction it goes is the direction it's going to go. And we went in going, this is one way it's going to go, and then it went a different way. And like I had one episode where we were getting ready to go on, and then Iowa City got hit by a tornado. And all of a sudden we went on, and we were the only people live.
Wow.
And we ended up being like the tornado information headquarters.
No kidding.
And that's what really put my show on the map, because everybody started posting that out to their families and friends saying, this guy was live right after the tornado, and nobody else came down and cared about it. Like CBS wasn't there, NBC wasn't there. It was just this guy, and that's just it, because you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
And it's sad to say that a tornado made me more popular on public access, but that's the case. But like the next show, I was like, guys, you understand? Like this show's horrible, and you're all tuning in because there was a tornado last week, and you guys all think I'm like Citizen of the Year, but understand, like, we're gonna have girls wrestle now and like oatmeal, and it's gonna happen. But I'm like, I'm sorry for this, you know. But it's the thing. It's like, just do I just do what makes me laugh, and if people have the same humor as me, then great, they're gonna follow along. If people don't have the same humor as me, then great, they're gonna follow along and criticize what I do. Right. And if some people are just like confused as hell what's going on, great, they're gonna follow along because they're gonna just follow along. And I've got people who hate me who are probably just following along so they can watch me fall on my face and fail. And that's fine too. Enjoy the ride. Right. You know, because I probably will fall on my face once in a while. It's gonna happen. I mean, the road's rocky. There's a lot of cracks in there. You know, you can't always like keep your step. But the thing is, I'm doing what I want to do, and I promised myself a long time ago I would do what made me happy. And I said to them, when I started doing Periscope, I said, if Periscope ever became not enjoyable for me, right, I would just end it. I would just stop doing it, because why would I continue to do something? Because I've seen so many people, like people who are doing YouTube, who don't want to be doing YouTube anymore, but they're doing YouTube because that's the only way they can make money. Right. I'm just like, I don't want to be that person. Right. I'll just go find something else to do. Yeah. I'll start drawing on the street. I'll do caricatures of people on the street. So.
But as it's happening right now, you think you're going to continue to do Periscope for a while?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Unless, you know, if there was some way, I wish there was some way I could just like live in an apartment and have like 5 iPhones on me all the time, and just have like different Periscope rooms, and somebody could be like, "Oh, I'm going to Brad's bathroom right now," or "I'm going. This room just dedicated to Penny's playroom or whatever." So, just that stuff. That would be great if there was some way that could be, or if there was some way it could be like a talk show like that, where it'd be like, I'm doing a talk show like I would do at Public Access, the exact same thing that I did at Public Access, because that was the best time of my life, was doing Public Access.
Right.
And I could make it work for Periscope and not have it turn into just a bunch of people trying to call me and make fart noises on the phone, or asking me if I'm gay, or whatever other questions they've got coming out of their mind. Like, if we can have informative questions, stuff like that, I'd love to do that too. So I think for now, I'm going to be on Periscope as long as I can. I know people are kicking at my biting at my heels about stuff and trying to get me to falter on some things, but I'm there for the long run.
Awesome.
So,
well, it's good to hear. Good to hear. Well, you heard it here first. Maybe not first. Probably not first. You probably Periscope that months ago.
Oh no, I think that's the first time I said
really?
This. I'm here for the long run, I think.
That's awesome. I like it, and I think it's pretty cool. And I've been following you not as long as a lot of these people have, but there is something intriguing about watching your life and watching the ups and the downs. And from at least what I've seen, I haven't seen too many negative comments. I've seen a lot of people that seem to support you, which is really interesting, and it seems kind of like a nice thing, a nice community. People you don't know that care. It's kind of interesting.
It is. It's like when I do Sleepcasts and I wake up and there's like 12 or 15 people in the room and they're like, "Good morning." And that was always a good thing. Like, I wake up and be like, "Oh, all these people say good morning to me."
That's cool.
I feel great for the day.
Yeah.
Now watch me shave. Here we go.
Well, that's awesome. At this point in the show, normally I do my marketing tip of the day. I'm still going to do that, but I think it's going to be Brad's marketing tip of the day, but we're going to talk about Periscope specifically. What can business owners, CEOs, we've seen what John Legere has done, and I think is fantastic. What can people learn from that, and how can businesses or people reach out to people like you that have this audience, but how can they do it in a way that doesn't turn off your audience, turn off their audience, or feel fake? What can they do, and what should business owners, CEO types be doing and using Periscope to their advantage in a real way?
Boy, that was a big question. I think the number one thing is that brands need to realize that I think the deal is, for me personally, if a brand throws money at me, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to take the money. I want to know I have faith in the product. So they should look at what people are doing. They should watch Periscope. They should be hiring people to sit there, and I'm sure somebody's 3 months from now will be like, "Thank you, Brad, for recommending this job," because I'm sitting here getting paid so many dollars an hour to watch Periscope. So they're sitting there, they're watching me watch Periscope. I have a guy who watched me watch Periscope, and I was drinking Arizona pink lemonade, Southern tea or whatever.
Right.
Sent me a box of it on Amazon because he just knew I liked it. So there you go.
Right.
I mean, there's something where if Canada Dry was watching my Periscope and I'm sitting there drinking this, or I'm drinking, do they make the ginger ale?
They do, yeah.
You get, I like the ginger ale Canada Dry if you are watching. But, if they sit there and they say, "Oh, you know what, every time I log in, he's drinking Canada Dry."
Right.
Or every day I log in and he's shaving, he's using a Gillette razor to shave.
Right.
Or stuff like that. I mean, I've seen another branding example is Gillette came into the room one time and said, "We want to send you a gift pack." And I said, "How about instead of sending me a gift pack, you just give some gifts to one of my viewers, pick a random viewer or something." And they said, "We'll give 4 out." So they gave out 4 gift packs to 4 random people. And that was a good, they were following Twitter. They saw somebody tweet out the Gillette logo, and somebody tweeted a picture of me shaving to Gillette. And they came into the room, they saw what was going on. There you go. There's an example. I mean, they need to just pay attention to what the content is, and then not try to say, T-Mobile's perfect because we're on phones,
Right.
and we're using up a lot of data.
Right.
So why not?
It makes sense.
Yeah, why not? But then where is the other place? Where is Verizon? Where is AT&T? Because everybody's got data. Everybody's got phones. But things like, if you see somebody wearing all Nike clothes, then Nike should be on top of that. You've got a runner who does running scopes. That's another one where track shoes or something like that. you need to look at the content, and you also need to just not be offended if somebody says, you know what, no, I don't want to do that because I don't want to look like a sellout to my viewers.
Right.
And don't be offended by it. Just understand, figure out some other way to work with them on it, and don't push people into. This turned into long advice.
This is great, though.
Okay,
I think this is perfect. This is what people need to hear. Brands and people and businesses don't understand.
What I don't want a
this
brand
yet.
to do is, I want a brand to say to me, oh yeah, you're going to talk about Canada Dry. You have to mention the word Canada Dry every hour.
Right.
Once an hour in every broadcast.
Right.
No, not interested in that. I've done web series where I've had advertisers and you have to mention us once a show, and sometimes I'll be like, it really sounds kind of fake when I'm name dropping a website on my web series because I have to, So
do you think people see through that when they
they do
pick up on that?
They do, and that's why I think the problem was with. I think that's what a lot of people were getting angry about T-Mobile, because I was talking about T-Mobile all the time, but that's because I was happy with the coverage and everything, and they never gave me anything. They never gave me a phone. Everything that John gave me money-wise was out of his pocket. It wasn't like a T-Mobile check or something like that. And so, I think that's where people got confused, because all of a sudden I'm at T-Mobile and I'm getting a phone, but I'm the one paying my bill. Right. So it's my gig, it's my thing. So, I guess it would be different if you, look at Fiesta movement. I think Fiesta movement this year, well, I don't know, because here's where I'm going to get another case. And I'm just going to say this while we got a chance. I know this has nothing to do with the thing. Don't scope and drive. There's too many people that are periscoping and reading the comments. Oh, God. And I'm like, and I've seen somebody almost hit a bus, and I'm like, do not scope and drive.
Wow.
Do not scope and drive. Wow. So, I want people not to do that. It is worse than texting. And somebody the other day said, oh, well, it's in the same spot where my navigation is. I'm like, yeah, but your navigation isn't talking to you every 5 minutes. Your navigation has vocals. Right. So, yeah, don't text, don't scope and drive.
That's a PSA from
don't scope and drive.
BradmanTV.
And people are like, quit being bossy. I'm like, okay, well then because I always do the joke of here's your phone, you've just rolled the car 3 times, and we're all sitting there because your phone hasn't disconnected, and we're watching you die. Ooh. Because that's not what I want to see. Right. So, sorry, I'm being selfish. I don't want to watch you die in a car accident.
I don't either. I don't want anybody to do that.
There
it is, putting it out there. So, to sum it up, it seems like the common theme is have context with who you're reaching out to. Don't just reach out and say, hey, do this stuff, I'll pay you money to talk about it. It has to be contextual to the person and what they're doing.
Right, exactly. If you've got an artist and you're an art and you sell art products, there you go. If you've got a runner and you have running products, there you go. Right. If you've got a foodie and you have a restaurant and you want them to come to the restaurant, there you go.
There it is.
It's that stuff.
And you think that Periscope is a fine enough platform because it is so organic and natural. It's okay for brands to do this and get intertwined, so long as it doesn't impede on the reality of what's going on. You think that's okay?
Right. And I think brands can have their own channels too. Mm-hmm. I think a brand can have their own channel, and just understand if nobody comes to watch it, don't go into other people's rooms and promote your channel. Right. Let it be your channel, because people shouldn't do that regardless. Netflix had a channel where it was just a hamster, and it said study or Netflix, and the hamster would go back and forth between the two, and everybody's like, what do you think of that? And I was like, I think it's pretty funny.
That's cool.
I think it wasn't like it was there, and I'm sure Periscope will have some sort of featured content thing. That's fine. Let them, because if Periscope is going to make money and they don't have to throw ads at the beginning of my Periscopes, then that's fine. Right. Let them do whatever they have to do to make money. Right. They're not forcing you to watch that stuff. It's just there. And that's the one thing I do want to say is, the last thing I want to say is, Periscope, please don't put ads at the beginning of live content, because Blog TV did that, and every time somebody would disconnect, they'd have to sit there and watch a minute video over and over again. And I think so many people get disconnected on Periscope sometimes that it would just turn into. Right. I don't care.
Keep it organic.
Put it at the beginning of my recorded content. Don't care. Right. Just keep it off of live content, and that's my advice. And I told them that, and I stick by that. You can put ads in my recorded content. Just keep it off of live content.
Smart. Very interesting. Well, cool. Brad, thank you so much for the interview. I appreciate you coming in, giving your advice, talking. This was awesome. And Yeah, thanks again. So BradmanTV, make sure to check this guy's Periscope channel out, his Twitter, everything else. He's a cool guy, and it's nice to talk to you in person. You seem very genuine, and I hope best of luck to you through all of this. We'll keep following you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody who's watching episode 6. I really appreciate it. Out of Scope, please comment. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you hate, because we're trying to improve the show and make it better. So if you like this, let us know, and thank you so much. Again, BradmanTV.
Thank you. Just let it go. Let it go.